This morning, investigators are piecing together clues from that devastating Christmas Day bombing in Nashville, trying to figure out why 63-year-old Anthony Quinn Warner blew himself up inside an RV at an At&T building. And overnight, newly released body camera video showing the moments police officers responded to the scene.
That's so weird. That's like something out of a movie.
And just moments later, the bomb detonated. In the chaos, officers evacuating people who were still in their homes.
Are you guys okay?
The blast knocking down a building and shattering windows and doors for blocks. Investigators are still looking for Warner's motivation behind the attack.
He was not on our radar.
Sources tell ABC News investigators are looking at a theory that Warner may have been motivated, at least in part, by a paranoia over 5G cell technology. Conspiracy theories falsely allege 5G networks can weaken the immune system, among other things. And intelligence agencies warned earlier this year that threats against 5G communications infrastructure are on the rise.
They're still investigating the motive. Anthony Warner was a lifelong telecom insider working at that AT&T building. There's a reason why he chose that building and not the workers doing it late at night. We're going to get into all of that. But it wasn't just a conspiracy theory. At first they rolled out the 5G and then everybody started getting sick. And there's tons of white papers linking EMF to immune system deficiency. And so it does weaken the immune system. And it's even in the Pentagon DoD papers, and we've played clips from Pentagon officials saying how low levels of radiation can cause flu-like symptoms. At first came the 5G, and then came the COVID. And Anthony Warner knew that, and the news was like, oh, that's paranoia. Those are conspiracy theories. It came from the wet market as they were banning vitamin C and sunlight, locking you down, banning children from the playground. Oh, it's the virus. Come get your death facts. It's not the 5G. Everybody knew it was the 5G. But Anthony Warner worked at that building. The building that you see here, one of these giant windowless buildings that we see in the big cities. They're basically the hard line of the matrix, the core of the 5G and the internet. And they've become militarized infrastructure, able to resist nuclear explosions and the like. And so these buildings are mysterious, and Anthony Warner just went right in and blew that thing up. It's pretty impressive, to say the least. We've got all the videos that we could find on this event. Most people don't really remember it because it was right in between the election and the quote-unquote insurrection of 2020. But they were dark days. What we're discovering now is that Anthony Warner became an activist, started speaking out about 5G, and he started getting targeted. He was in the 4th stage of energy weapon-induced cancer when he decided to take that building out, because it's a silent war right now. It's a shadow war, and there's a lot of moves happening behind the scenes that the news doesn't cover, that the news doesn't want you to know about. But if the telecom workers are taking out the infrastructure, burning them down, blowing up buildings, what do you think regular people should do? Anthony Warner was not the first person, the first telecom worker to take out infrastructure. Listen to this.
Telecom insider whose mobile phone tower protest went out of control is back. Now, he drove a tank down city streets, destroying transmitters to highlight what he saw as dangerous tower emissions. Now, of course, he was sent to jail for that, but the former technician hasn't changed his mind about the health effects of mobile phone towers, and he's preparing another protest. But as Laura Sparks reports, this one won't involve a tank.
The message was that how dangerous it was. I wasn't thinking clearly. I made some rash decisions, which I really regret.
But it was out of sheer frustration.
Yes, yeah.
His desperation drove him to extreme measures. John Patterson did the unthinkable.
This morning, investigators are piecing together clues from that devastating Christmas Day bombing in Nashville, trying to figure out why 63
So the other telecom worker goes full Rambo, gets a tank, and takes out 8 Death Towers. This other dude basically brings the Ryder truck or the RV and takes out the Skynet HQ. And the TV is like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Don't get your sunshine or your vitamin C. Come get our death vax. Look, everybody knows the 5G is connected to the pandemic. And it looks like they just basically turned on the 5G and then made everybody sick. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, according to weapons experts. This technology is not just for telecommunications, and it's not just the radiation levels that are making people sick. In fact, these cell towers have been weaponized and can shoot and kill in seconds or cause cancers or heart attacks and strokes. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a fact. And it's been confirmed not only by weapons experts, but government officials, NSA whistleblowers. It's being exposed in congressional hearings, and there's victims all around the internet talking about it. Have you been hit by a cell tower lately? If it hasn't happened to you yet, it will. And so we've been covering this extensively because people need to know. There's a genuine threat, and everybody is saying so. Doctors, government workers, tech insiders, health experts, and so on and so forth. It's just the TV that depends on AT&T advertising money that tells you that it's safe and effective. And as soon as they say it's safe and effective, you know it's basically part of the eugenics program. The Agenda 21, the Agenda 2030, and the like. And they're basically poisoning the food, the air, the water. They're spraying us like bugs. They want to exterminate 90% of the people out there. It was right there on the Georgia Guidestones until they blew up the evidence. And so the agenda is clear. You will eat bugs and own nothing. The WEF owns your government. You're no longer free. They're rigging the elections and so on and so forth. And they're coming after anyone and everyone that speaks out.
It's a building that houses all the hard lines for phones throughout the southeast.
Makes sense. Good spot to put a bomb.
60 seconds later, the bomb sets off just about every car alarm on the street.
It was pretty massive. Not quite Oklahoma City, but pretty massive indeed. And the TV calls it a conspiracy theory. That's how you know it's true. As soon as they say it's a conspiracy theory, you know it's true. As soon as they say it's safe and effective, you know they're out to get you. And this is a fact now. And everybody can see just how corrupt these people on TV are. And it's, beyond most people's imagination when it comes to how bad the situation is. But Anthony Warner knew, not only because he worked at that AT&T building, but because he was being targeted like many other people, and it ends up pretty much the same way. They try to make it look like natural causes. That way nobody gets suspicious. Because if they started lining people up to achieve their goals for 90% of the people being exterminated, if they lined people up and started shooting them, people would shoot back. So they've chosen the silent wars doctrine, just like it was in the NASA documents. That's exactly what's going on right now, and they're using cell towers to do it in a major way. Not only the cell towers, but again, the food, the water, the air, the vaccines, everything they can get away with, basically. But the cell towers are particularly nasty because they shoot invisible beams at people. And if you're a target, you don't even really know. It's done in such a way that it all looks natural. Again, we've been covering this for a couple months now because people do need to know, and nobody else is talking about it because they don't really know. They haven't put it all together yet. And so it's important that we do raise awareness on this issue as much as we can, because the victims are being silenced and censored. The government's trying to tell us it's the Russians. They might as well be saying it came from the wet market again. It's the 5G. All of these cell towers, they're a Trojan horse in your neighborhood. And they're much more dangerous than you think. These panels don't look like much, but they can fire beams with pinpoint accuracy, and it follows you wherever you go. Just check out our last broadcast for more information on just how accurate these things are. And so it's why we continue to recommend that people check out this book, Transhuman Genocide, because it talks all about these weapons, the agenda, and what you can do to protect yourselves with military-grade shielding. The establishment does not want you to know how to protect yourself. That's basically why they pulled the lead out of the paint. They knew this was coming. They've been perfecting this system since the 1960s. And so most of the stuff that you can buy online right now that's EMF shielding is not military grade quality. And these weapons will go right through them. You can wear them like EMF clothing, and people are like, oh, it makes it worse. Because the system is adapting. The system knows that you're using shielding, and so it's upping the juice. To give you the impression that it's making it worse, that shielding isn't the answer. I mean, this system is like 10 steps ahead of most people, to say the least. That's why basically you have to use military grade shielding. The book talks about the recipes, the formulas, the materials needed for broadband EMF protection, because EMF weapons are not only microwaves, they can be X-rays, they can be ELF, and just about everything in between. This book is basically your best buy when it comes to how to protect yourself. It's dirt cheap compared to other books of this genre that are basically just math books, and they don't really give you real solutions. This book gives you real solutions. And we can't talk about it enough, because everybody needs to start protecting themselves or they're going to get wiped out. It's already happening. And if you've been feeling the symptoms, the 5G symptoms, or feeling off since the rollout of 5G, you're not alone. The first signs are chronic fatigue, recurring headaches, pain not associated with an injury, heart palpitations, and then it's either heart attack, stroke, or cancer. If you've been feeling these symptoms, there is no pill that will cure what's happening. You need to start shielding. And that's basically the best advice anybody can give you. It'll buy you lots of time. The more shielding, the better. Anything is better than nothing. But mylar or grounded aluminum foil or just EMF fabrics are not enough to survive what's happening out there right now. Check out that book, Transhuman Genocide, on Amazon. You can read a free preview. There's the Kindle version for $10. The paperback version starting at $30. You can get it black and white, color, thick or thin versions, box set that's slimmer. Otherwise, this thing is thick like a phone book. But essentially, it's the how to survive what's happening. And if you don't like it, you can send it back. But this is something that you basically want in your library on your top shelf. This is a top shelf book because it's the only book that really describes what's happening in modern terms. It's basically the pages of the Bible playing out before our very eyes. This is all part of the beast system and the like. And if you don't get the mark of the beast, basically they're going to deny you food, water, a job, everything through the use of energy weapons. You won't be able to go out. You won't even be able to sleep, basically. And this process has already begun. All of the technology out there is basically satanic, mark of the beast kind of stuff. The mark of the beast is on everything you buy, the 666 barcode. You know, the At&T buildings are basically variations of 666. And they look diabolical. The main At&T HQ building in Nashville, right next to the windowless building that blew up, basically looks like a Twin Peaks satanic shrine, AT&T, and its address is like 666 or 166 Commerce Street, Nashville, Tennessee. So it's all diabolical. It's all beast system related. But the shielding that you need, the armor that you need when the enemy is firing fiery darts or fiery arrows at you, is EMF shielding. There's all sorts of things that you can talk about as far as how long has this been going on, what's really being described in Ephesians 6:13, but this book represents the best research from the top minds of electromagnetism. It's the best armor for what's happening right now. And if you don't get this book, it's basically suicide. And I'm not trying to say that in a way that forces you to buy this book. But if you've been feeling off since the rollout of 5G, it's not you, it's them targeting you. And you're not alone. It's just that before you really understand that you're being targeted by this system, it's generally too late. That's why being proactive is a lot better than trying to catch up to the system once you figure out what happened to you. Check out that book, Transhuman Genocide. Feel free to share this content. Let people know the war is on. And, people all around the world are burning down death towers. They're going out at night, leaving their cell phones behind, being superheroes in their own way because there's a war happening. And either you're going to be a victim or you're going to be a survivor. But there's no surviving without EMF armor in this day and age. Ignorance will kill you. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.